So anyway, I am an LA resident, of course. I've been living in LA for so many years. Today I'm going to talk about what was the best things about visiting the city of LA. What type of places look good to visit? Growing up in Los Angeles, the only places I like to visit is the Science Museum. The Science Museum is one of my favorite places to visit in the city, to be honest. The best thing about the Science Museum, it's free, it doesn't cost money to go in. I bet it costs money to go inside some of the exhibits and watch some of the IMAX movies. It's actually a cool place to visit if you want to learn about the science about the human body, natural disasters, the weather, recycling. But it's too bad inside the Science Museum, they just changed the interiors. I like the oldest way. I like the way what the Science Museum used to look like, but I can't believe they changed it because that's because they've been around since the '90s. That's why they had to change everything. I remember back when I was a kid, some of the technology in the Science Museum are mostly 1990s technology. Nowadays, they change it to something new. That's ridiculous. I bet that human body exhibit, you know about that giant, scary looking robot lady, is closed for repairs. I think they're fixing it. They're rebuilding the human body exhibit into an ugly new one. I like what it used to look like before. I don't like the new one. It's horrible. I can't believe the Science Museum in LA is different right now. I like what it used to look like before. This is ridiculous. They have this one exhibit that have all the pictures of the space shuttle that lands into LA to be displayed in the Science Museum. That was the last service of space shuttles when they went out of service. There's a movie called Moonfall about these people who stole the space shuttle from the Science Museum in LA. I did go there many years ago. It was pretty cool. It's kind of sad that space shuttles are not in service anymore, but nowadays they've been keeping them in museums in the Science Museum in LA. It's a cool place to visit if you're in LA. So the Science Museum is one of my favorite places to go to growing up because it's kind of like Disneyland and It's kind of like Disneyland and Universal Studios, but it doesn't cost a lot of money to go there, to be honest. They also have the Altry Museum, which is located around the countryside. It's not available to get there by train, but you have to drive there or get there by bus. It's in Griffith Park. That's like in the middle of the countryside outside of Los Angeles. So the Altry Museum is kind of like it's owned by this famous Wild West country singer named Gene Autry or something like that. So it's a museum that talks about the history of the Wild West and Native Americans and all sorts of guns that the cowboys used over the years. It's a really cool museum to visit because come on, sometimes on Bank America Day, you can go there for free by visiting some of the exhibits, and you can also visit some of the exhibits you have never been to before. It talks about the history of the Wild West and all the ethnic groups who lived in America during the Wild West times. And also the thing about the Altry Museum, I used to go there a lot as a kid. They have a lot of exhibits that talk about the history of cowboys in movies and TV shows, and also talks about like the Wild Bill's Wild West show back in the 1800s, which was the first Wild West entertainment show before movies and television were invented. And all sorts of props and costumes that belong to one of the actors in cowboy movies and TV shows and stuff like that. I have never seen a cowboy movie before, but the only thing I know about cowboy movies is the Altry Museum in Los Angeles, California, if you want to go there. So technically, there are two good museums in Los Angeles, the Science Museum and the Altry Museum. You know, the one museum that talks about science, and the other museum that talks about cowboys and Indians. And when I was a young kid, my mom used to take me to the Natural History Museum. Features all the dinosaur fossils, but I've been there for the first time since when I was little. I came back there during my youth years. I don't know, back in my mid 20s or something like that when I went there back in 2022. That was my first time going to that science and natural history museum since, I don't know, the early 2000s or something like that. I don't know. I did get to learn about the fish dinosaurs, which is pretty cool. They have all sorts of dinosaur fossils and like stuffed animals, all sorts of animals that belong to different countries around the world that are basically stuffed, which is kind of sad and shows you all the natural beauty and stuff like that, which is pretty interesting. You can go to the Natural History Museum in LA in case you get kind of bored of some of the attractions in LA. So there are three good museums in LA: the Natural History Museum, the Austria Museum, and the Science Museum. Another museum I loved going to back when I was growing up were the Travel Town with the little steamers located next to the Travel Town Museum, which is actually a very famous train museum in the LA area where you get to hop on the steam engines and you get to look at freight cars and cabooses. It's a pretty cool museum if you want to learn about the history of trains in the American West in California. It was featured a lot in TV shows and movies, but it's a free museum to go to, the Autry Museum. But donations are welcome, and you can put donations in the Griffith Park Train Museum in LA. Kind of like the Science Museum. So the Science Museum, the Train Museum, are the free museums located in LA, of course, of course. Some other museums in LA, they have the Huntington Library, which is it's kind of like a place for girls and stuff like that. They have like a beautiful garden, they have a greenhouse, and a lot of paintings and stuff like that, a lot of vintage books. It's a little bit kind of boring. It's not a type of place you guys want to visit. If you're a fan of vintage books, you can visit, but if you're not a fan of arts and paintings, do not go there. But if you can go there to get some exercise, to get some fresh air, to explore beautiful gardens and stuff like that, it's a lovely place to visit in the LA area in Pasadena. And the Norton Science Museum, it's kind of like a boring place to visit in Pasadena, which is technically an art museum, but my mom likes to go there and stuff like that. And there's also the Getty Museum in LA, which is kind of like full of paintings and stuff like that. It's not a very exciting place to visit in LA. Sometimes in LA, like they have a couple museums. They have a car museum located from the LA County Museum of Art. My mom likes to go there, but I don't want to go there. Sometimes we like to go there for free, but there's so many art museums in LA. They have a couple museums about vehicles, like the boat museum I've never been to before. They also have the Griffith Park Museum. The Ultra Museum also have horses and wagons in the Wild West times. And the Science Museum in LA has airplanes and cars and stuff like that, and rockets dedicated to science, which is pretty cool to see. Sometimes in LA, they have a lot of beaches that are kind of fun to go to. My mom takes me to the beach sometimes to get away from the hot sun in Altadena, California, in Los Angeles, California, in like the beaches. They're really famous in movies and stuff like that, but sometimes the beaches in LA are very dirty. They're full like seaweed down in the ground, which is disgusting. They have lots of interesting like critters down in the sand, but the ocean wave is really cold. It's very freezing stuff like that. And the ocean wave, the breeze is kind of cold too. There's also the USS Midway Museum. If you guys are interested in battleships, that's actually a really cool place to visit in the LA area in San Pedro. I think it's too expensive to go there, I think. In case some of you guys don't know, Los Angeles is the second largest city in the United States of America. About 3 million people live there. Around Riverside County, outside of the LA area, they do have the Train Museum in Paris, California, which is a pretty cool place to visit. I don't know much about museums in Orange County. I bet Orange County has a lot of art museums or stuff like that. They have Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm. They also have beaches that are fun to go to. I can't think of any other museums that Orange County have. Well, there is the Richard Nixon Presidential Library because Richard Nixon was born in Orange County, California. Speaking of which, in Simi Valley in Ventura County, they have the Ronald Reagan Museum, which is a pretty cool place to visit. So there are two museums in the LA area that are home to US presidents, Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon, and they're famous California presidents, of course. Except Ronald Reagan's born in Illinois, but he lived in Los Angeles to work in the film industry. But I bet he used to own a ranch in Ventura County in Simi Valley. It's a really cool place to visit in LA. It's the Ronald Reagan Museum if you're kind of getting kind of sick of art museums. Or the Richard Nixon Presidential Library. The city of LA and most of California has a lot of famous missions that have been around since the 1700s, built by the Spanish a long time ago. They're pretty good, really lovely places to visit to see some old bells and like architecture that were built by the Spanish a long time ago. They're pretty cool places to visit in the LA area if you get the chance to visit all these California missions. I think I did go to a California mission back when I was a kid, but I don't even remember. I wasn't really much a history fan back when I was growing up. I was more into dinosaurs and trains and airplanes and superheroes. In Los Angeles, they have the Hollywood Bowl that's located in Hollywood, California, where we can watch like perform like concerts and plays and stuff like that, all sorts of boring girly stuff at the Hollywood Bowl, or watch some concerts and movies and stuff like that, which is pretty cool, and a bunch of girly plays I don't appreciate of. They also have a theater in Hollywood, California, where they have like girly plays and sometimes good plays. Like recently, I saw the Harry Potter play. It was wonderful. Back when I was a kid, I used to watch girly plays, and they're kind of boring and kind of lame. So the city of LA is kind of like a mix between boy culture and girl culture. There's a lot of girly things in LA I don't really appreciate of while living in LA. If LA gets kind of boring, I'd rather go to. I'm about to go. I would go on a trip to Washington D.C. or Pennsylvania or any other places around the United States or maybe Canada whatsoever. Maybe they might have good boy stuff there compared to LA. They have nothing good for boys to enjoy. Some stuff are for ladies and girls in LA, and that's pretty boring in my opinion. Next video, I'm going to talk about Las Vegas, Nevada.